morning and welcome to Living Local 15. I'm your host, Jessica Williams. Thanks for spending your morning with me. It is Monday, so it's time for some motivation. Here's the quote. Fairy tales are more than true, not because they tell us that dragons exist, but because they tell us that dragons can be beaten. I love this. Here's my take. Challenges and obstacles are things that we all face, and no one can escape it. Though trials and tribulations may look different for each of us, we're really all in the same boat. Life can be hard sometimes, but it doesn't matter how hard life gets. What matters is how you react to it. It's okay to feel down and out, but do you stay down or do you get up and keep fighting? Think about it. And remember, whatever challenge you face today, slay it like a dragon. You got this. On today's show, we are getting some great leadership and entrepreneurship advice from Mike McFall, who is the co-founder and co-CEO of Biggby Coffee, which is the third largest coffee chain in the nation. We're also learning about animal foster care and adoption options from Animal Care and Control. And later, we get the rundown on top books and reading products with raving reviews. Here we go.
Fashion, food, and fun. You're watching Living Local 15 with your host, Jessica Williams.
Mike McFall is the co-CEO of Biggby Coffee and an author who is here to give us practical tips and a guide to starting a new business. Hi, Mike.
Hey, Jessica, how are you?
Doing well, thank you. How are you doing?
I'm great.
Wonderful. Well, thank you so much for joining us, and I'm really thrilled to talk with you and just kind of gain some nuggets from your experience. So I know that you are an author of a book called Grind, and you have a new book coming out over the summer, which is super exciting. What is the title of that book?
It's called Grow.
Grow. Okay, grind and grow. I love the flow. And so, Mike, just start off by sharing with us a little bit about your journey.
Well, we've been at this thing a long time. We started Biggby Coffee back in March of 1995, so we just crossed our 28-year anniversary.
Wow.
But we've been doing great, and we really feel like we're just getting started with the whole thing, which is pretty cool after being in it for 28 years.
Yes, that is so awesome. And I know that your coffee company is the third largest coffee brand in the country, which is very exciting. And just kind of share with me a little bit about how you got started as being a founder and a leader.
Yeah, well, I mean, my story's pretty unique in that I was a barista in our very first store, and my business partner Bob Fish came to me after working there for a few months, and we went for a long walk throughout East Lansing, Michigan, where our company was founded. At the end of that walk, we shook hands and agreed that we wanted to become partners. We formed a new company, and that company would be the company that we would utilize to grow the brand and grow the company, Biggby Coffee.
Wow, I love that. I love that you started from scratch.
Yeah, minimum wage barista. Yeah, it was a long time ago, but
right. No, that is so impressive. And so, just as you are writing out just a practical guide, is what you really have to help other entrepreneurs and aspiring business owners get set up for success in their companies. So kind of start off by giving us some practical tips that you like to share.
Well, I think probably the biggest tip I have in my book, it's chapter 1, and it really focuses around due diligence. But I think my interesting take on due diligence is that, people spend, hours and hours, hundreds of hours on due diligence before they start a business, but they leave out the most important due diligence they can do, which is due diligence on themselves. Because as the entrepreneur, as the founder, you are the most important ingredient in the success of your startup.
Right.
How you impact the people within your startup, how you manage, how you run the business is the most critical piece. So what I talk about is, my book is not about whether you should or shouldn't become an entrepreneur. I think in my experience is that all personalities, all people, anybody can be successful as an entrepreneur. What it's about is it's about knowing your strengths, your weaknesses, doing enough reflection and becoming self-aware enough to know how you impact the business so you can leverage your strengths and complement and supplement your weaknesses. And that's really what it's about. And that's the whole point of chapter 1. And then I go from there.
Right. And that due diligence perspective is just so important because it is kind of like something that you have to work out first to understand your limits, to understand your strengths and your weaknesses, as you said. But why is that so important at the beginning of that journey? And should one continue to do those checks to reassess and evaluate the diligence that they are actually executing on their journey?
Well, I think it's really important to do it throughout your journey, but I think it's most important at the beginning, as you point out. And one of the reasons is that oftentimes you'll go into partnership with somebody, like my business partner and I. We've been together 28 years
Wow.
as partners. But the thing is, you don't want to partner with somebody that's just like you.
Yeah.
If you're gonna go into a partnership, you wanna bring things to the table that they don't, and vice versa. And so, but at the beginning as well, one of the key factors, and really it gets into chapter 2 of the book, is the first and most important thing you have to do is figure out how to generate revenue and sell and sell and sell, right? And so, if that isn't your strong suit, then you have to work really hard at figuring out how you're going to sell and how you're going to generate revenue. And that's that's kind of what I call the yellow blinking light in the due diligence process, is if you're uncomfortable with that, you've got to figure out how to complement it.
Okay, and with you having your business partnership for over 20 years, which is so incredible, what is a tip that you would give when it comes to finding and really maintaining that relationship long term?
Well, as in any relationship, we like to say, my partner and I like to say it, it's like we're married, and it's as complex of a relationship as a marriage maybe. But really it all starts with respect,
Yes.
and making sure that, anytime I go into any circumstance, I'm always thinking about him. I'm thinking about, how it's going to impact him. I was just in some meetings yesterday, and, I said, I one of the things that I do, and this is a good tip, right? This is a good life hack, is I always pretend like he's in the room with me. And how would he be responding to me? How would he be thinking about what I'm doing, how I'm answering, how I'm doing in this interview, right? But I think it first of all starts with respect and bringing just an incredible amount of thoughtfulness and respect to the relationship.
Right. And in your book, you discuss an important thing that I think a lot of leaders have to do and maybe don't always assess, which is checking the ego. So share more
Yeah.
about that message.
Well, everyone has an ego. And, anytime I hear somebody say they don't have an ego, I immediately think, you're probably not too self-aware if you're
Right.
saying you don't have an ego.
That's the ego
But,
talking.
it's about understanding how ego is manifesting in your behaviors. That's what it's about. And so when your ego is chewing on you or making you think a certain way, being able to understand that and then make sure that you're acting and behaving in a way that's appropriate for a given situation, independent of your ego barking at you over here. That, to me, it's one of the most critical parts of leadership, is understanding how ego is impacting you and then being able to counterbalance that.
Yeah, that's very important. And with your upcoming book, Grow, what can we expect from that?
Well, the book series, book 1, Grind, takes you from the minute you decide to go into a business, and it's the mentality you need in order to get to your first day of positive cash flow. Book 2 picks up in that, what I call bootstrapping entrepreneurial phase. And then it carries you through the journey all the way to what I call sustainability, which means the entrepreneur. So my partner and I in our business, we could both get run over by a bus tomorrow and the business would continue to thrive. And so
Wow.
it's this arc of a journey from bootstrapping entrepreneur through into strong leader and then into irrelevance. And it's really a book on leadership is what it is.
Well, that's wonderful. Thank you so much, Mike, for stopping by and really just sharing with us some interesting and important information and a different perspective to being a leader and to having a successful company. So these were great tools that you shared. So thank you so much.
My pleasure. Thanks for having me.
Absolutely. If you would like more information on Mike and his book Grind and his upcoming book Grow that will be dropping in June, we'll make sure to have his website information listed below, and we'll be right back.
Follow us on social media at Living Local 15.
The Fort Wayne Animal Care and Control is a public safety shelter focusing on rescue, education, pet adoption, and lost and found services. Joining me today is their public information officer, Abigail Reyes. Hi, Abigail.
Hi, how are you?
Good, doing well, thank you. Thanks so much for coming in.
Thanks for having me. I
Yes,
appreciate it.
absolutely. So let's start off by you sharing with us about the program that you all offer.
Yeah, so we offer actually a variety of programs. I actually oversee the education department, so that's one of the departments we oversee. We also have a volunteer program, and that's also tied with our foster program, which we will talk about here shortly. And it's all volunteer based, and honestly, we are so grateful and appreciative of all of our volunteers and all of our foster volunteers, just because they are the reasons that our building is growing and moving forward, and they help us a lot with our animals.
Yes, and so through the animal care and control, you all do a lot. I mean, from the rescuing, like I said, lost and found. I mean, what is the biggest service that you all provide?
Wow. I would say one of the biggest services that we definitely offer is our animal care officers, just because, they're one of the first ones that, talk to the public whenever, the public or the community sees someone out in the field. Our officers are there. They often provide the information to anyone that calls, including our dispatchers. When they give us a call to our facility, our dispatchers are able to give them as much information as they can. Same way with our officers. They give them all the information, all the needs that they can, whether it's to help them keep their animal in the home or what we can do to prevent their animals from escaping.
Okay, so that's really cool. So a resource for people who already have animals, but you also just provide that security for animals that may be out in the public. So I always think about the cat that's in the tree, and the rescuing and those who may need a home as well that may be stranded or abandoned or just a stray animal. You all take them in as well.
Yes, so because we are an open shelter, we are not able to refuse any animal that comes to us. So that can be as small as a squirrel or a wildlife, such as recently we had a goat, 4 goats a couple weeks ago. And we had 4 goats. They were just out in the field. And so thankfully we had our community who even helped our animal care officer to get them to our facility. So because of our open public shelter, we don't refuse any animal that comes in, but it's so much fun to see the different types of animals that come to us and that we're able to help.
Yes, that's so funny. Goats. Who would have known?
Yeah, there were just 4 goats out there. And so it was so great. It was just, when I heard this story, I'm like, we have goats in the building.
Right.
And so it was really cool to see them.
And so let's talk a little bit deeper about the programs that you offer. So you offer an adoption program and a foster care program, which is so cool. So people can actually take pets into their home for a limited time to foster them like they would a child. So share more with us about that.
Yeah, so our adoption program, it's actually such a great program, and I love it. And it's like, like you said, when they foster kids, they're helping keeping our animals alive because, the shelter, we provide as much as we can. We try to help our animals to feel very, comfortable, but, with everything that goes on with the different sounds, different smells, the different interactions, oftentimes that can lead to anxiety and stress of an animal, especially our smaller ones. So we often encourage, our community to become fosters, just so that they can help our animals stay alive. For example, if we were to have a pregnant cat, obviously, having her in the shelter would not be the most best thing for her because, you want them comfortable, you want them to feel secure, especially knowing that, they're about to have their kittens. It's like, she's gonna probably go into mama mode and just this is not okay.
Right.
So we often ask, and encourage the community to become fosters, because it will just help keep our animals alive.
That's such an interesting point that I never thought about. Just the fact that if they're in the shelter, there's so much traffic of animals coming in and out. They can't fully get acclimated or feel like home. And they deserve a temporary home as well, and the love and the care of the owner that's going to take care of them. And your program is so cool because you all actually provide the resources for the foster parents so that, you know, and you brought here this kit. And so you provide the food and the ongoing medical treatment. So share more about that.
We do. So anyone who becomes a foster, we just provide all the resource, all the supplies, such as, you know, the food, the kitty litter. We have them set up appointments with us every 2 weeks, and they just come in, do their daily checks, you know, so they'll do either their shots, you know, whatever vaccine that they need, you know, so they do all of that. And the best part is that, you know, they can take breaks. You know, foster parents can take breaks. So it's like you can foster a whole kitty litter and then just like, okay, I need a little break now. And we're totally okay with it, which is one of the reasons the more, the merrier for us, you know, of having fosters.
I like that. So super flexible.
Yes.
So, you know, you can commit to it and serve, but you also have some areas that you can kind of shift around, especially if you go on vacation or, like you said, need a break. So share with us about April, which is kitten season.
Yes. April is it is known as kitten season for a lot of the shelters. And what it is, it's because, you know, the weather's warming up and, you know, now cats are going out, you know, they're getting to know one another, and then we just see a lot of kittens appearing in the shelter. So that's why we really encourage people to become fosters, because it helps, you know, animals to get that love that, you know, before being released as being part of the adoption, you know, because they have to be at least 8 weeks before they can be adopted, or they have to be more than 2 pounds. So yeah, April is known as our kitten season. So we get a lot of kittens in the shelter, our numbers go up, and that's why we also ask the community like for donations in items, or, you know, funding us, because all of that is what helps cover the resource to help our foster families.
Okay, that's awesome. And if someone wants to donate or volunteer to be a foster, how do they do that process?
So to donate, they can go on our website at fwacc.org, and they would just click under donations, donating, and they can see that. But if they do want to become a foster family, there is an application online that they would go through, and, you know, if once approved, then our coordinator Emily would speak to them and they would just get in touch. She would go over the program with them. She'll talk about, you know, all the checklists, and that's one of the great things about our coordinators is that they actually provide a checklist and like a timeline of what to expect, what to see, and what to keep an eye on for, you know, any animal that they were to foster.
Okay. That's so great. Thank you so much, Abigail, for coming in and sharing about this. Appreciate it. This sounds like an amazing opportunity for those who are interested in becoming a foster parent to a pet, or testing out if you even want an animal. We'll have more information about the Fort Wayne Animal Care and Control listed below, and we'll be right back.
Living Local 15, proudly driven by the Kelly Automotive Group.
March is National Reading Month, and the National Education Association sets out to promote knowledge and inclusivity to young children through the campaign Read Across America. Olivia Horton is standing by with some great books for your kids and a couple of options for our adult readers. Let's check it out.
Joining us now with expert recommendations and products to help your kids enjoy reading is Branson Stowell from Best Reviews. Branson, thanks so much for joining us.
Thank you, Olivia. Who doesn't love a good book?
Right? I personally am a big book reader, and I know you have some for the kiddos and for the adults. So let's first start over with the kids.
Yeah, so over here we have an Elephant and Piggy Biggy Volume 1. This actually contains a lot of stories. And this book, we're thinking like you're just starting to read. You're teaching the little ones, you know, you're learning words. It's kind of an emotional exploration of this great friendship between these two adorable animals. Who doesn't love a dynamic duo? And this has tons and tons of stories. So as a parent, you have basically 40 storybooks in one in this book, which is just fantastic.
That is fantastic because you don't have to just choose from one. So that's good for the beginner reader. But what about over here for the kiddos who kind of already know how to do it?
Yeah, so we move on to like elementary school a little bit age, right? And we're thinking actually exploring some important themes. So this is Change Sings by Amanda Gorman, who's a very famous American poet. This is her first foray into the children's book world. And this book is super cool because not only does it have pictures and a great story, but it also teaches kids that just because you're young doesn't mean that you can't inspire change in the world. So it comes with a great lesson on top of that.
I love that, and that's so good when it comes to the young ones. You always want to teach them some kind of a lesson, and I love how it has illustrations as well. Now, moving on to our young adults, they don't necessarily need the pictures, they just need the good words.
Oh yeah, and all the great words can be found in a lot of these big fantasy series, right? Fantasy is so huge. This has a little twist on the contemporary fantasy, I'll tell you. This is Legend Born, right? And this was a recommendation. These are all recommendations from our expert librarian, Sierra Pastrell. This book in particular takes a little spin on the King Arthur series, like the Camelot mythology, but it places it in the modern era. So it has a modern twist for our modern readers, and especially young kids who might not be familiar with that, but it's got enough for the adult, burgeoning, almost adult reader to get you excited about reading and reading more complex novels. So.
Well, these are all really great options, but sometimes you don't want the paperback, you don't want to physically have the book, and that's where the Kindle comes in handy.
Who doesn't have a Kindle? The Kindle's for the rest of us, right? The Kindle's for the reader on the go. This is the Kindle Paperwhite, and they update this fairly frequently. It's got a long battery life, and you can store thousands of books thanks to the Nook Library. It's a must-have for the avid reader and for someone who's reading a lot and wants to read on the go.
I really like that. So when it comes to travel, this might be one of your best options if you're not trying to lug around 2 to 3 different books. Now, also when you're reading, you have to protect yourself. So what do we have over here with the glasses?
Yeah, so those are the blue light glasses by Felix Gray, and they're fantastic if you're reading from an iPad or reading from a screen a lot. You want to protect your eyes from eye strain and protect yourself from headaches and a lot of other strain and pain. And those glasses are going to do that and make you look stylish while you're doing it. So
no better deal, right? Look stylish while you're doing it and reading. Well, thank you so much, Branson, for joining us. We appreciate your time.
Thank you so much. At Best Reviews, we just aim to simplify your purchasing decisions.
Awesome. To learn more about these products and others, just head to bestreviews.com or just scan that QR code on your screen.
Best Reviews is owned by our parent company, Nexstar. For more information and to find more product reviews, go to our website, wane.com. Well, that's our show for today. Enjoy the rest of your Monday, and remember, fairy tales are more than true, not because they tell us that dragons exist, but because they tell us that dragons can be beaten. I look forward to seeing you here tomorrow. Bye-bye.